When you're talking earlier, I was thinking, about that kind of startup culture that some of the biggest businesses in the world still try and run. I read a book recently called Amazon Unbound, about Bezos, and there are still procedures, or well, maybe not after the last couple of years, but there are still procedures built in where every year management had to fire the worst performing member of the team,
Ooh.
even if the team was the highest performing, most successful team in the company. The worst performing person still has to be let go because that's the culture. So we keep it like, dog eat dog. Everyone wants to do better and better. And they did a study where 70% of staff, men, women, everybody, had cried at their desk in the last week. What? I think startup, I think everyone's got playing ping pong and sitting on like comfy beanbag chairs and stuff. Not that you were sat there at 9 o'clock at night crying your eyes out trying to get something right so you're not the worst performing member of the team. Like,
I must say, I'm honored to have worked for a FANG company, from a financial standpoint, just to work with the brightest and most brilliant minds. When I had to make some tough decisions, it was a very sad moment for me. And, the ride is not, it's not as gravy. And so I tell people that are interested in working for these, it's not as exciting as you think because it is very tough, right? And I joined at a time where I wasn't in the office, so I didn't get the benefit of building those relationships. I joined at the start of COVID, never made it into the office. And as someone that is very relationship driven, that is very trust driven, and not being able to build on those things and try to create those things online, and there's no connection, right? Really hard to do your work, and in a way that is impactful, right? And intentional. And so I say to people, really, really question your moral compass, your goals, right? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want your legacy to be? And what is really important to you? And to be on the other side of it, what I do know is that the money will truly come. The happiness will truly come when you really center what is the problems that I am solving, who are the leaders that I am working with, right? What will my legacy be? And not what is my paycheck. Not how happy will and big will my ego be because I've worked for a fame company. It's really prioritizing the longevity of your career. And even as I am at this transition, I love the streaming world, but I equally love what Web3 has to offer. And that is a very startup, no name world with with a lot of potential failure, right?
so much because it's the Wild West again. It's the Wild
Exactly.
West again. Like just as we, everyone was just posting, and there was it. That was Web One, Web Two. Suddenly, people, you got Ben Affleck on message boards being like, "Shut the hell up," and then suddenly being told, like, "Never post again, Ben. Like, get out of there." But we literally saw. I remember seeing that in the 2000s, late 2000s, when celebrities didn't know what to do with this as well. They were like, "Oh, this is cool. I can just be like, no, my movie was amazing." Like, no, no, da, 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 da. Because it was so new. It was so brand. None of us knew what to do. I remember MySpace and being like, "I guess I just sit here for 3 days adding people. Cool." And I did, and I had loads of connections, and it meant nothing. Like,
Yeah.
um, so it is what it is. So, talk to us a little bit about that, because I want to get into Web3, but I think so many people know the name Netflix, and so people know like the Silicon Valley kind of, ooh, because it's so exciting after 10 years. But what is it like in an environment like that? Is it incredibly fast paced? Is it looking at mental health? Because I'd assume that there is a big push in businesses that are newer to have that intrinsically built into everything they do. And I think lockdown was an um, incredible challenge for a lot of businesses to be like, we have stuff in place to make sure everyone's okay.
Yeah.
They ask them on a daily basis if they're okay, and that's their job. Hurrah! And they see them if they're sat like that. Oh, they go over and be like, "Hey, you okay?" But now we're locked down, and we have this 15-minute interaction between people where you're like, "Oh, Hi, Florcy, how you doing? Great to see you. Okay, bye. Oh, you know.
Yeah.
um, so, especially in kind of lockdown as well. What is it like working for a, like you say, a FANG business like that?
Yeah. So I will say, I was in an org that was actually very diverse. And I will say that Netflix is, I don't have the beginning to compare it to, so I only have that lens. And, I've said this publicly and I've said it privately. Netflix really did care and really does care. And I was in a leader. I was in creative productions with a leader, Rochelle, and she was amazing. And you know, the qualitative and mental health and organizational health, which is at the bottom of that. How safe do you feel to do your work? Psychological safety. How what do we want your feedback, right? And I was a leader. I was a manager at the time. And so that was very ingrained from the top up and saying, listen, this needs to be at the forefront. And there was a lot of sensitivity around, you know, no meeting Fridays. We would take days off when things happened, George Floyd. We were having very tough conversations of how are you doing?
Amazing.
How are you doing? We were being very conscious of not only just asking, but doing, right? Creating the space. There's one thing to ask and like, oh, okay, and turn around like, so what about that report?
Yeah, that
So
sounds kind of bad, but listen, there's a deadline, so
yeah. So there was action behind the words as well, and right, creating space,
Mm,
creating ways that we redefine how we were doing our work, reducing meetings, and saying like we don't need 10 meetings to see how we're doing on that report. Like let's leave meetings for decision making. And so I will say that, there was some cutting down, right, when I was joining, right, and so we had to think about how do you onboard in a remote community, and I think that's another conversation. But thinking about the pandemic and the racial and societal tensions that were happening at the time, I think there was a lot of consideration. I think it's just a hard time for me personally, coming from so much change into a new organization, new function,
all
new
online.
industry, cross country, ending relationships. There was a lot of change for me. And, I personally take a lot of accountability,
Sure.
for my own decisions and my success. But I really would have loved to see it before, and be a part of, had an opportunity to make those connections. But very considerate. Um,
Amazing.
if you want to own your work, you can own your work. If you want to collaborate, you may not have people that have the time to collaborate
Because
with
they're
you.
busy owning their own work.
Yeah, right. And so that would be my only like critique, and then that is my biggest critique. There isn't a lot of collaborations in, some of these big tech companies.
Hmm.
And I really truly believe, and anyone that's looking to hire me, I truly believe if you want to grow, and you want to grow, there's a saying, if you want to grow fast, go alone. And I believe if you want to go with impact and really bringing the whole entire company, bringing the community, bringing your customers along the way, you have to do it collaboratively, not just internally, but externally. What are your customers saying? And that's what actually led me to actually the product side of the business and to Netflix. So when I was at Dell Technologies, we were seeing through our customer support, right? What here, we don't like this with the product. This is breaking down. And I was thinking about how do we build these reports and these bugs back into the product to make the product bigger. So there was a partnership with our customers, and our customers like Bank of America, these big companies, Fortune 100 companies. So I'm not going to listen to the Fortune 100 companies that are, paying for our millions of dollars for our product to tell me how my product can be better. And so as we even think about what's happening to Netflix and the streaming companies, there needs to truly be a partnership with your customer, and really understanding what they need and what they want, and how are we solving their pain points. That is where the innovation will come. That is where the change will come. And more importantly, that's where the money will come. But if you're thinking from cost savings, we're having these pain points, the stock is dropping, and thus we need to make money, and that's how you're making your decisions, you're going to make the wrong decision every time.